welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast Special Edition Series where we go over each and every 2024 NCAA Men's College Basketball Conference Tournament. And next up is the Big Ten. The tournament will be held at the Target Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota. This will be the 23rd of 32. You know the rules. We go over the seedings, then we do the bracket, then we do all the miscellaneous. All right, the number one seed in this tournament, 28-3 overall, 17-3 in conference play, the Purdue Boilermakers. Number two seed in this tournament, 23-8 overall, 14-6 in conference play, the Illinois Fighting Illini. Illinois 13th in the AP poll, Purdue 3. Your 3 seed, 22-9 overall, 12-8 in conference play. The Nebraska Cornhuskers, a pleasant surprise in the Big Ten this year. 4th, 21-10 overall, 12-8 in conference play. The Northwestern Wildcats, who exceed expectations every year. The 5 seed, 19-12 overall, 11-9 in conference play. The Wisconsin Badgers, we thought they were going to be a little bit better, but they fell apart at the second half of the year. Your 6 seed, 18-13 overall, 10-10 in conference play. The Indiana Hoosiers, who played better down the stretch. Your 7 seed, 18-13 overall, 10-10 in conference play, the Iowa Hawkeyes. Your 8 seed, 18-13 overall, 10-10 in conference play, the Michigan State Spartans. Your 9 seed, 18-13 overall, 9-11 in conference play, the Minnesota Golden Gophers. The 10th seed, 19-12 overall, 9-11 in conference play, the Ohio State Buckeyes. The 11th seed, 15-16 overall, 9-11 in conference play, the Penn State Nittany Lions. Your 12 seed, 15-16 overall, 7-13 in conference play, the Maryland Terrapins. Your 13 seed, 15-16 overall, 7-13 in conference play, the Rutgers Scarlet Knights. And your 14 seed, 8-23 overall, 3-17 in conference play, the Michigan Wolverines. All right, so without further ado, here we go. 5:30 Central, 6:30 Eastern on Peacock on Wednesday, March 13th. Number 13 seed Rutgers, 12 seed Maryland. Rutgers, let's face it, next year is going to be the big year for them. Their best guy this year was the big Clifford Omori. Over 10.5 a game, 8.5 rebounds. One of their better players, Jeremiah Williams, recently came back from injury, averaging over 12.5 a game. And then with Maryland, they have easily the best guy on the court in Jameer Young and over 20 a game. I project Maryland only 1.7, total 133 and 17-20, so Maryland advances, and Rutgers gets ready for their big season next year with Dylan Harper coming to town and Ace Bailey. I think that's the other freshman's name that they're getting. The second of 2 first-round games on March 13th. Number 14, Michigan. Number 11, Penn State. Michigan's been a mess all season. Olivier Nikomoa has been hurt. Doug McDaniel over 16.5 a game. There's a lot of turmoil with this program. They're kind of like the Louisville of the Big Ten. Like we talked about West Virginia being the Louisville of the Big 12. This is the Louisville of the Big Ten. And Penn State, I think, overachieved in year one under Mike Rhoades, so they have a lot to be proud of, despite not having the best record. They did lose Kanye Clearly, which is not great. So Ace Baldwin, the pressure's on him. He used to play for VCU, I think, Ace Baldwin. That's kind of ironic. So, yeah. He did used to play for VCU. That's what I thought. You just followed his coach. I project Penn State 7.2, total 151 and 11/20. So Penn State should advance there. Second round, Thursday, March 14th. 9 seed Minnesota, 8 seed Michigan State. Minnesota has underachieved this year with Ben Johnson. One of their better players, Dawson Garcia, almost 18 a game. And then Sparty, who is just under immense pressure to win this game, or else there's a possibility they're on the bubble. Their best guy is Tyson Walker. He's over 18 a game. But I have Sparty by 5, total 143 and 310, so I'm going to advance Sparty. Second of 2 second-round games. 12 seed Minnesota, 5 seed Wisconsin. Wisconsin's best guy is AJ Storr. Over 16 a game. He's made a nice jump this year. I project the Badgers 3 3/4, so they should advance. I mean, sneaky subplot with Minnesota. Speaking of the second round, they're gonna have a lot of fans in the Target Center. Third of 4. Second round games. 10 seed Ohio State, 7 seed Iowa. Ohio State's been coming on since they let go of Chris Holtmann, which is really weird. It's like the Coach Ewing theory in a way. Bruce Thornton's really good. He's averaging over 16 a game. And then Iowa. Peyton Sanford, he's averaging over 16 a game as well. For Iowa, this is a big spot. I think the winner of this game has to upset Illinois if they want a chance at an at-large. I really feel strongly about that. I have Ohio State by a 5th. Total 152 and 3/5. So I'm going to advance the Buckeyes. And it's in a seeding upset, although I do think Ohio State will be favored in this game. In the last of 4 second-round games, 11 seed Penn State, 6 seed Indiana. Like I said about Indiana, playing a little bit better. They've won 4 straight against Wisconsin, Maryland, Minnesota, Sparty. So 3 of those teams could make the tournament. I mean, not that Indiana can't, but they could put themselves on the bubble. Khalil Ware putting up good numbers for him, almost a double-double guy, just about. I do project Indiana 4 1/4, so I'm going to advance the Hoosiers. All right, quarterfinals, Friday, March 15th. 8 seed Michigan State, 1 seed Purdue. We know the drill. Zach Edey is the best player in college basketball, and it's not close. He's a double-double machine. He's just makes that Purdue program or that Purdue team go. Matt Painter makes the program go. I project them 9.1 over Michigan State. Although I do think there's a chance Sparty keeps that close. And they're not a lock if they lose this game. If they win this game, they're a lock. Sparty, but Purdue's going to win. Second and 4 quarterfinal games, 5 seed Wisconsin, 4 seed Northwestern. Northwestern's in the mix again. Bowie is back, averaging almost 19 a game. Chris Collins is a hell of a coach. He coaches himself off the hot seat every year. To me, he's the Brad Brownell of the Big Ten. I project Northwestern 3/4, so I'm going to advance Northwestern. Third of 4 quarterfinal games, 10 seed Ohio State and 2 seed Illinois. Illinois is still really good. Brad Underwood is a really good coach. Terrence Shannon Jr., after some off-court stuff earlier in the year, is performing again. averaging over 21.5 per game. I project the Illinois 6 3/4 over Ohio State, although I think Ohio State can win that. So I'm going to go Illinois in the last of 4 quarterfinal games. 6 seed Indiana, 3 seed Nebraska. Nebraska's been a pleasant surprise. Finally, Fred Hoiberg is doing a good coaching job. He has to be up there for the Big Ten Coach of the Year. All due respect to Matt Painter, but you were supposed to be the best team in the Big Ten. You and obviously Sparty, who's underachieved this year. But to me, Hoiberg's the Coach of the Year in the Big Ten with the job he's done at Nebraska. Very well-balanced team led by Keisei Tominaga. Although Indiana could win this game, I won't be surprised if they do. But I have Nebraska 1.4, so I'm going to advance Nebraska. So we're chalking the Final Four here. So on the Saturday, March 16th, that'll be at 1 o'clock Eastern on CBS. Number 4 Northwestern, number 1 Purdue. Edey is just so much better than everybody else on the court. Bowie's going to be the second best guy on the court on Northwestern. But Northwestern ain't stopping Edey. I know they beat them earlier in the year, but this is a neutral site that could potentially help Northwestern, but I think this is Purdue's time, and I think they are going to have a big chip on their shoulder. Purdue 8.5 over Northwestern, so I'm going to advance Purdue. And second to 2 semifinal games, 3 seed Nebraska, 2 seed Illinois. Really good game. Best guy on the court is Shannon. I project Illinois 4.2, so I'm going to advance the Hoosiers. And then the championship game on St. Patrick's Day, Sunday, 2 seed Illinois, 1 seed Purdue, 3:30 Eastern on CBS right before the selection. So the 2 best teams in the conference, Illinois and Purdue. The best 2 players in the conference, in Zach Edey and Terrence Shannon from the Target Center. I just think Edey's better and Purdue's the better team. I project Purdue 5.2, so therefore I have the Purdue Boilermakers winning the 2024 Big Ten Tournament. Purdue, I think, will be the 1 seed in the Midwest region, but I think they're going to be the 3rd 1 seed. UConn will be ahead of them, and so will Houston. Houston deserves the number 1 overall seed. I've said it on several different podcasts already. Purdue, I think, will be the number 3 overall seed. But they should be number 1 overall if they win the Big Ten tournament, and UConn and Houston don't win their conference tournaments. And then they will be number 1. And then Carolina, and then mixed in with UConn and Houston. But I have Purdue as the number 3 overall seed as of right now. Illinois, I think, will be a 4 seed. They just scream a 4 seed to me. Nebraska, I think, has all the makings of being a 7. Northwestern, I think, is going to be a 9. But I think there's a chance they're in Dayton or even out of the dance. That loss to Chicago State's going to hurt them. That's why I think they're going to be a 9 seed. But had they not lost that game, they'd be probably an 8 seed. If they lose to Wisconsin, I think they might be flirting with Dayton, if not maybe like 11, maybe a 10. So I'm going to say Northwestern's a 9 because they beat Wisconsin. And then they're competitive with Purdue in the semis. Wisconsin, I think, will be right like 10. I don't think Indiana makes it. I think they'll make the NIT. Same with Iowa. Sparty. I think they're going to make it. I think they're going to be an 11. I think they're going to be in Dayton, potentially. And who knows, maybe they'll play St. John's or something like that. Imagine Izzo against Patino. That would be something. But I think Sparty's going to Dayton. Path for Indiana, they beat Penn State, and maybe if they make the Big Ten title game, I think there's a chance. If they lose in the Big Ten title game, they're in Dayton. But Indiana's had some really weird losses this year and such. But maybe if they beat Nebraska and lose in the semis, I also think Dayton's in play for them as well. Ohio State. So Ohio State, Iowa was interesting. If the winner of that game beats Illinois, I think that they're in. And they're probably potentially in Dayton if they lose in the semis, too. You can't write either of those teams off. Minnesota, I think, is probably going to be like a 10 or an 11. They've had some decent wins so far this season. So, and then NIT, at gunpoint, I think NIT will be Indiana, Iowa, and Ohio State. And then in the dance, Minnesota, Michigan State, Wisconsin, Northwestern, Nebraska, Illinois, Purdue. And I don't think anybody's going to the CBI. Maybe Penn State, maybe Maryland, but we'll see about that. Most outstanding player Big Ten tournament, of course, it's going to be Zach Edey. You knew I wasn't going to pick against Zach Edey, who is hands down the best player in college basketball. All right, value on the tournament here. I just have to pull up the DraftKings online odds because I just want to see where Rutgers is. So, FanDuel, Purdue's even money, Illinois plus 290, Nebraska's 11-1, Michigan State is 14, Wisconsin's 12, Northwestern's 20, Ohio State's 30, Iowa State 33, Indiana 40. DraftKings has them at 60, which is weird. Iowa 33, Indiana 40, Maryland 65, Minnesota 100, Penn State 110, Rutgers 220, Michigan 250. Where's value? Northwestern 20-1. Bowie, I think, is capable of carrying Northwestern on his back. So I think Northwestern at 20-1 on FanDuel is really good value for them. So coaching stuff. So you think the usual suspects are going to stay around. Chris Collins, I think, saved his job. Greg Gard, I don't think is going anywhere yet, whether it's fired or elsewhere. Indiana's bringing back Mike Woodson, which I don't think was the right decision. I just don't think Mike Woodson is a competent college basketball coach. And they lost one of the recruits after it was announced Woodson was coming back, which is a bad sign. Fran McCaffrey's been at Iowa forever. Izzo's not going anywhere. Ben Johnson has been in the conversation for Big Ten Coach of the Year. But you know it's going to be Hoiberg that's going to win that. Or Chris Collins again. So here's an interesting one. Jake Diebler. If they make the tournament and go on a run, he could be this year's Rodney Terry. But the problem is that Texas, that might be buyer's remorse of Rodney Terry already. If they lose early in the tournament and they're bad next year. Like, if Ohio State goes on a run, say they win not win the Big Ten tournament, but, like, come close, like, losing the finals, they get an 11 seed because other teams lose and such. And they work their way into the bubble. They make the Sweet 16 and lose. And then all of a sudden Ohio State is where Miami is next year. Miami in the ACC. And then they're like, oh, they should have brought in somebody else. And they don't want that whole situation. So, Diebler, I think this is a big week for him coming up in a big couple weeks. Mike Rhodes isn't going anywhere. Kevin Willard's not going anywhere, despite underachieving this year. Steve Peichel's not going anywhere. There's a big recruiting class coming next year, as we talked about already on the show. But to me, the coach on the hot seat in this conference is easily Juwan Howard at Michigan. They were a disaster this year. They were the Louisville of the Big Ten. And Juwan Howard obviously had some turmoil with people in the program. Phil Martelli's an assistant. Maybe they promote him the head coach. Obviously, he's the former St. Joe's coach who was very successful. So, who the hell knows? I think Juwan Howard's the coach on the hottest seat, and quite frankly, it's not close at all. Well, it was Chris Holtmann until he got fired, and then now it's obviously Juwan Howard at Michigan. And it's just so weird because this is his 5th year there. They made the NIT last year, Sweet 16 2 years ago, the Elite 8 in his 2nd year. But the COVID year doesn't count because we don't know what would have ultimately happened there. So there you have it for the Big Ten. Next up is going to be a shorter one. It's going to be the Big West.